after incomprehensible forbearance and graciousness and mercy and intentional pursuit, the Lord will eventually stop speaking and he will just start acting and he will give us over. He is just and he will justly stop wasting his time. He will justly stop wasting his time. I'm like talking to all these different guys from all these different disciplines consistently, right? And these guys that are high-level dudes as far as having the ability to have influence on policies or nations or blah, blah, blah. Talking to these guys and these that are warning about the emerging technologies, the UAP stuff, the blah, blah, blah. Like I'm talking to all these guys and they go, how come nobody's listening? They're saying this. Why isn't anybody, do they know what we're doing? They're saying we're because these guys have worked on some of these projects. They go, do they know what's coming next? Do they know what's happening? Why isn't anybody listening? I hear you out there warning. I hear other people out there warning. Why isn't anybody listening? And I go, I don't know. It's the spirit of the age. Because they're all hearing. Because they go from podcast to podcast and YouTube channel to YouTube channel and whatever to whatever. And they read all these books. They read all this stuff. They are bombarded with hearing. But you're right. Why isn't anybody listening? Because we would look radically different if we were, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we look radically different as a body? Wouldn't we be more eager to gather together and to sing and to praise and worship and to pray and to come to the prayer meetings and come to the blah, blah, blah? Like if we were listening, we would go, oh God, every second counts. What am I doing? Watching Netflix? What am I doing? You said redeem the time for the days are evil. You're not in the darkness, but you're in the light, so act like children of light. Be wise. Don't you know? Redeem the time. Don't you know what's coming? Don't you know what's happening? Don't you know the apostasy? Don't you know the falling away? Don't you know the delusion? Don't you know the false Christ and false messiahs? Don't you know the counterfeit light and the light workers? Don't you know the emerging technologies? Don't you know that every single aspect of your life is being bombarded to get you to defect from your God who loves you and bought you with the blood of his son? Are you listening to what's going on? We're not. We're not. We are hearing impaired, beloved. We are hearing impaired. And we've gone into auditory exclusion because the number one thing that we fear more than anything is FOMO, fear of missing out on all that this world has to offer me. If I do that, I might miss out. I might miss out on comfort. I might miss out on leisure. I might miss out on what I want to do with my time. I might miss out on pleasure. I might miss out on, it's fear. And so you're never listening to the voice of God. You're only listening to every other voice in your reality. Because the object of your fear is the flesh and this life and men. And you can't rightly hear and discern the voice of God who is speaking time and time again. The trumpets are blaring. The lion's roaring. Are you guys aware of what's going on? People are waiting for some big event to let them know how late the hour is. You're in it. I don't know how far into it, but we're a ways into it. There's no big aha moment happening. Days of Noah, days a lot. As it was in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Lot, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. It actually says that is exactly what it will be like. It says eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, normal. It's going to be normal. Life's normal right now, right? Yet the watchmen are screaming. God is lamenting. The lion is roaring. The trumpets are sounding. The air raid sirens are going off. And I know, like me, being from the Midwest, we got a lot of Midwesterners in here. What happens when you hear a tornado siren in the Midwest? Nothing. You maybe look out your window for it because you have heard it so many times that you actually go into selective hearing and you're hearing the sirens, but you're not listening, and nobody takes shelter in the Midwest. It's a very unique attribute to anybody from the Midwest until it rips through Omaha like it did last year. Want to know what? All the air raid sirens were going off, but everybody has heard them so many times that nobody took shelter. And then it wiped out major parts of the Omaha area. Same thing is going on right now in real time. The sirens are blaring and we go, I hear it, but I'm not listening because no harm will ever befall me. I'll never be a widow. I'll never see harm. Remember what Mystery Babylon says? I'll never see sorrow. I'll never see harm. Remember what the mockers and scoffers say? Don't listen to the prophets. They're just wind. Listen, every day goes on business as usual. Let what they're saying be done to them. Prophesy illusions. Tell me pleasant things. Don't tell me about the Holy One of Israel. In conclusion, 1 Corinthians 14:8 asks this question. If a trumpet does not sound a clear call, who will get ready for battle? I want to give you a clear call right now, beloved. If I could say it, maybe it'd be a little bit more clear. I want to give you a very clear call. The time of religious gamesmanship, the time of hearing but never doing, the time of believing but never submitting, the time of self-reliance, of neglecting the body, of learning but never listening, of hearing but never heeding, the time of hearing the promptings of the Spirit, of conviction, or the promptings of the Spirit unto freedom, but never moving out in faith and conviction and action into those things, the time of churchianity, consumerism, of always learning but never able to come to an understanding of the truth, and the time of dismissing the warning sirens and the trumpet blast and the roar of the lion are over. It's over. I want to sound a very clear call. The hour is late. Let those with ears to hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. May we be like Samuel in the days of old, that when the Lord begins speaking into our hearts, that we would serve our generation well and rightly love the Lord and beautify His church, that we would say, "Speak, Lord, because your servant is listening." That we would be so bold, so emphatic, so resolute and steadfast that that's the only thing that would come out of us as soon as we hear a tinge of the voice of the Lord. "Oh, speak, Lord, your servant's listening. I'm not just hearing, God, I'm listening. You got all of me, because I fear you, God, and I love you, and because you love me. You get all of me, God. All of my auditory attunement down to my heart, into my soul, into my spirit, and out into action, that I might actually serve this generation well and make much of the King and the kingdom that bought me while I was dead in my trespasses."